And Republican reaction to the document story has been swift and fierce, much of it coming from the new Republican majority on Capitol Hill. And yesterday, CBS got the chance to sit down with another prominent GOP voice and potential 2024 presidential candidate, former Vice President Mike Pence, about all of this, as well as when he might decide on whether to run for president in 2024. We began, though, by asking about his own vice presidential records and if he can be sure none of them were taken from his time in office.
Our staff reviewed all of the materials in our office and in our residence to ensure that there were no classified materials that left the White House or remained in our possession. And I remain confident that that was done in a thorough and careful way. Clearly, in the waning days of the Trump-Pence administration, that process was not properly executed by staff around the President of the United States. And as I said, I'm not diminishing the importance of protecting classified materials, particularly top secret materials. These are the nation's secrets. They bear upon our national security. But again, this issue to me is one of equal treatment under the law. And I just have to tell you, the double standard.
Well, just to be clear, are you calling for a special counsel or not?
The Trump documents, I think it continues to undermine public confidence.
Let's talk about the future. Former President Trump right now is the only candidate running for the Republican nomination.
Right.
Nobody has yet to jump in the race against him for the nomination or for the nomination. Are Republicans afraid of former President Trump to take him on? Are you afraid of taking on former President Trump? If you say you're going to take months now to listen.
You know, the only thing we've decided for sure is that we weren't going to let anybody else make our decision for us. And, you know my approach to politics, at least over the last 20 years. I've sought to practice a kind of politics that reflects, I think, the civility and respect the American people show one another. And if we choose to run, we won't run against anyone. We'll run for a set of principles and ideals that have always animated my career.
But especially for that evangelical vote in the Republican Party. You're starting a tour soon of mega churches around the country, and you have been on the forefront of the abortion issue on the right for decades now. We're in the backyard not only of former President Trump, but of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And last year, he signed legislation for a 15-week ban on abortion. As someone who's been on the right in front of that issue for so many years, did he go far enough?
There's no greater cause than the cause of life. And when I think back on the record of the Trump-Pence administration, I couldn't be more proud. We rebuilt our military, we revived our economy, saw the nation through the worst pandemic in 100 years. But above all of that with those 3 Supreme Court justices, we gave the American people a new beginning for life. And for however much time I have left on this earth, I'm going to continue to labor in the cause of life. I truly do believe we need to make it our aim to restore the sanctity of life, the unalienable right to life, back to the center of American law. I welcome progress that's been made here in Florida, in my home state of Indiana, and all across the country. But I'll be joining some people at the March for Life next week, and I've made it very clear. It may take us as long to restore the sanctity of life to the center of American law as it took us to overturn Roe v. Wade, but I believe that far beyond the politics of that question, for the sake of the nation, we need to restore the sanctity of life.
And how far should the Republican Party go on abortion? If you were president and you had a Republican Senate and a Republican House, what would be the President Pence policy?
Well, I certainly would support any pro-life legislation that Congress would take up, but I do believe that this issue is likely to be resolved one state at a time. Before Roe v. Wade, the question of abortion was dealt with in each state across the country. And I expect that's ultimately where it will be resolved. But for me, for my wife Karen, whatever role we're playing in the future, whatever cause we feel called to, we'll be standing for the right to life.
How close are you to a final decision on a 2024 run? How close?
Well, we're giving it careful and prayerful consideration. But I must tell you, I think the truth is that I think we've got time. I mean, because of the opportunities we've had to serve our state and serve our nation, people around America know the Pences. They know us, and so we're going to take the opportunity of that time, and we're going to continue to travel. We're going to continue to listen. We're going to continue to pray, and I promise to keep you posted.
And final thing here, Mr. Vice President, you're here in the Villages in Florida. This has long been a haven for supporters of former President Trump and supporters of you as well. Mm-hmm. If you do decide to get in the 2024 race, do you believe that some Trump voters are now winnable, that they're not all a monolith at this point in 2023 in terms of where they go in the future?
Bob, I really believe that the 74 million people that supported us in 2020 are some of the most patriotic, common sense, conservative, freedom-loving people in this country. And I think whatever we feel is our calling in the primary process, that at the end of the day, the American people are going to sort it out. I think we're going to have new leadership in this party and in this country, and I have every confidence that our voters will rally behind our standard bearer and will give the country a new beginning, to start back to the policies that we advanced in the Trump-Pence administration that left America stronger and more prosperous, and I have every confidence will again.
We appreciate your time, Vice President Pence.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.